So I'm 12 kilometers into my 55th half marathon of 2020. And today I want to talk a little bit about my running journey. Here we go. So back when I was 14, I used to spend a Tuesday and a Thursday night at one of my local running tracks. It was a great little hobby. I would spend the evenings doing drills, intervals, shuttle runs, but it only really lasted about 6 months before teenage life just sort of got in the way and I hung up my running spikes. So that was back in 1999. The next time I picked up my running shoes was in 2010 when I'd signed up for the Great North Run, which is a half marathon in the northeast of England. And to be honest, for that I did pretty much no training. The longest run I did was one 10-mile run, but I managed to complete the Great North Run in a time of 1 hour and 51 minutes. And crossing the finish line, I said the words, "I'm never going to do anything as stupid as that again." And so I put my running shoes back away in the cupboard for good, or at least I thought. Fast forward to now, and I'm 55 half marathons and 1 ultra marathon into 2020. My goal is to run 60 half marathons this year, at least. So what changed between 2010 and 2020? Well, the main thing was I started running. I started to enjoy it. So from 2010 all the way through to 2016, I didn't do any running at all. I did a lot of weight training, calisthenics, body weight training, circuits, that kind of thing. So I was fairly fit, but I just didn't do anything on the cardiovascular side. That wasn't until I signed up to the Great North Run in 2016 again, and so I started to run a little bit. Now my training for 2016 was few and far between. I would do 5k and then I'd rest for 2 weeks, and then I'd do a 6k followed by maybe a 3k a few days later. There was no set structure to the training, but to be honest, I wasn't intending on running the half marathon in a specific time. All I was really bothered about was just getting finished, so that endurance. And during that training block, I think I covered the half marathon distance one time, and that was on a trail run, very slowly. But again, I got through the run, and once again I vowed I was never going to cover the half marathon distance again. But an opportunity then came up to buy a membership, which meant that I could avoid going through the general ballot for the Great North Run for the following 3 years, 2017, 2018, 2019. And temptation got the better of me and I signed up. Now for the 2017 Great North Run, that was another year where I really didn't put in a great deal of effort when it came to training. Scrolling back through my Strava calendar, I find it quite funny to see a 5k run followed by 3 weeks of nothing, followed by a 10k run, followed by 2 weeks of nothing. So it was really unstructured, random, sporadic in terms of what miles I was covering and when. And one thing I should have mentioned, so the 2016 Great North Run, when I completed that, I think it was 1 hour, 51 minutes and 14 seconds. My 2010 Great North Run had been 1 hour, 51 minutes and 11 seconds. So in those 6 years, I'd actually got slower by 3 seconds. And when I crossed the line in 2016, I was devastated. All I'd wanted to do was to beat my old time. And so missing out by 3 seconds, I was gutted. In 2017, I crossed the line, 1 hour, 50 minutes. So I'd managed to knock a grand total of 1 minute off my time. But it was then after that 2017 Great North Run, I had a few weeks off. The run was sometime in September. I had, I think, pretty much all of October off running. And then I signed up to a challenge to run 5k every day throughout the month of November for charity. Now for me at the time, not being a runner, never running consecutive days, the prospect of running 3.1 miles or 5k a day for 30 days in a row just seemed crazy. I didn't think I could do it. I raised quite a lot of money for charity. I got through it, but early December I was plagued with injury. Couldn't run, could barely walk. My hip had gone, my knee had gone, my lower back was cramping up all of the time. And so I didn't run for the whole of December again. But what happened during that challenge is a switch had gone off in my head. So running became a part of my everyday routine. If I had a busy day coming up at work, I would be up and out of the house early, running in the dark, icy conditions, but I was getting it done. And it was while I was out of action during that month of December that I really started to miss that daily boost, that kick that I would get from that daily run. And so as I started to get over my injury and being able to be active again in early 2018, I found myself lacing up my running shoes more and more regularly, and that's when I really started to get into it. And as I built up towards the 2018 Great North Run, I started to cover off a lot more miles. I'd been signing up to 10k and 5k races throughout 2018. My times have been coming down, I was getting fitter, my legs were getting stronger, and for the first time in a training run in the build up to the Great North Run, I got into the 1 hour 30s. So 1 hour 38, 1 hour 36, 1 hour 35. So I really felt like I was starting to get into this whole running thing. Race day came around, I set off too fast. I was on for a great pace of around about 1 hour 30 minutes. And then I just hit a complete wall at the 10k mark. Stopped, had to walked on and off for the rest of the race. Finished up in 1 hour and 45 minutes. Still a good time, but I was just disappointed by my performance on the day. I kept up with the running into 2019. Started to run more and more and more in 2019. More half marathon distances as well. It was early in 2019 that for the very first time I ran a 10-kilometer run early morning before work, and for me that was a huge milestone. I had done 5k before work before, but arriving at the office and thinking, wow, I've just covered 10 kilometers before breakfast. Yeah, it was a big game changer for me. And then it was sometime, I think around about April 2019, that I set out for a morning run, got carried away with the audiobook I was listening to, and ended up covering off the half marathon distance. So that was a new standard, a new bar had been set. I couldn't believe that I'd done that, but that's when I started to want more and to do more. I eased up on the other training, the weight, the calisthenics and that sort of stuff, and started to focus a lot more on my running. I was now able to cover off sub 20-minute 5Ks, sub 40-minute 10Ks, and the next milestone was to try for a sub 90-minute half marathon, and I finally achieved that around about July 2019. So that's when August came around, and early one Sunday morning I got a phone call and was told that Anthony, one of my best friends, had taken his own life the day before. And with that, I didn't know how to feel, I didn't know what to say, I didn't know what to do, I didn't know how to respond. It was a really quite difficult time. So what I found myself doing was running a lot, and it was really through the running that I was able to process what had happened, to think a lot, allow myself to think without the distractions of daily life, family life, work life. I just need to be lost in my own thoughts. And so I really started to up the mileage. And so over the remainder of 2019, I found myself doing more and more of those long runs, more half marathons. I finished the year on 32 half marathons, most of which were early in the morning while everyone else was still asleep, when I just needed a little bit of time to think, a little bit of time to process, and a little bit of time to grieve and go through the grieving process. So it was really all of that running that really helped me. So as I headed into 2020, I wanted to use my running to give a little bit back and to do a little bit of good. And so what I set out to do was a challenge to run at least 60 half marathons across the course of the year, and in doing that raise money for CALM, the Campaign Against Living Miserably, which is the charity that helped Anthony's family and friends through what was a really difficult period. It's been an incredible journey this year. The run has taken me to places that I never thought it would do. It's helped people, it's raised awareness, and for me it's just become a part of my everyday life. I've grown to really love running, and on those days where I don't get out for a run, I feel like there's a little something missing. And as we're heading towards mid-November, I'm on half marathon number 55 today, plus last month I did a 55-kilometer ultramarathon, which was just the icing on the cake really for the challenge this year. But it makes me wonder what I'm going to do. What do I want to do next year? What's the next challenge? And I haven't got too long left to think about that, so I better come up with something soon. So here we are coming in for the finish. And that is it. So there we have half marathon number 55 of the year, and there we have a little bit about my running journey so far. 21 years ago on the tracks to at least 60 half marathons and 1 ultra marathon this year. So what comes next? So thank you once again for watching. Comment, like, subscribe, all of that sort of great stuff, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Yoo!